Hello, spooky friends. It's me, DJ, your host of Crypts and Corks. I'm not here with Paul because this isn't an episode. We just wanted to give you a heads up that we're going to do our first ever live streamed episode on February the 10th at 6 p.m. Eastern Time on Instagram and Facebook. We're going to be doing this in honor of Valentine's Day, Singles Awareness Day. Paul and I are both going to die alone, never having gotten married. So, in honor of all of our singles and our would-be singles, if they weren't happily in relationships, who would like to join us on that night, we're going to do a special Valentine's Day story, have Valentine's Day cocktails, and follow it up with a little question and answer session with anyone who'd be there. So please join us on Instagram or Facebook Live on February 10th at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. And until then, keep your crypts tight and your corks loose. Bye! Do you know the Muffin Man?
The Muffin Man?
The Muffin Man!
The one who lives on Dreary Lane?
Not the Gumdrop Buttons! And welcome back, spooky friends, to episode 17 of Crypts and Corks. I'm your host, DJ, here with my ever-lovely co-host,
Paul. As usual, that intro really got me. You really hit me with those gumdrop buttons.
Not the Gumdrop Buttons!
Oh my gosh, you do that so funny.
Thank you. I don't even like gumdrops.
Neither do I, honestly. I feel like that's an older person thing.
Yeah, I think, we're just so hyped up on, other sugary things. We had, Sour Patch Kids and Starburst and Skittles growing up that,
The gumdrops just weren't it, girl.
Yeah, the only really gumdrops we had growing up were Dots.
Oh, yeah, I did like Dots. And, Swedish Fish are kind of like Dots. They're kind of like a harder gummy, I guess.
But I feel like Swedish Fish have a better taste, a flavor.
They do. I will agree with that. I do like a good Swedish Fish.
But on the same thing, but then we like gummies, but we like Swedish Fish and Sour Patch Kids because that's basically the same thing.
Mm-hmm. But sour. Oh, I love sour. Anything sour gets me there. I love it so much.
For your next birthday, I think I'm going to get you a 1-pound bag of Sour Patch Kids.
Please do. I would love it.
Do you know how many Sour Patch Kids that is? A 1-pound bag is this big.
I know it's a lot, and I would eat them all.
Oh
Honestly.
my god.
I love gummies in general. Anything gummy, iconic. I love it.
Chocolate.
Chocolate. I think I knew that about you, actually. Yeah.
Well, every time we go out to dinner, two things are going to happen. No, there's 3 things that are going to happen. Give me the wine list.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I want to see that dessert menu. And 9 out of 10 times, I'm going to get the chocolatiest thing on that dessert menu.
That's tea. And the 4th thing is I'm going to get a beverage, too.
Work!
One thing about me is I like a good beverage with my dinner.
Well, Paul, how was your week?
Oh my god. It was so long. I worked 50 hours.
What? Okay, but you
50.
Also did that to yourself. We only had to do 5 extra hours, which would have been 45 hours. You chose to do 5 beyond that.
I did. I just wanted the money. And you know what? I also did it sober. I worked that much sober. And if you know me, you know I love a good beverage to get me through the week. And I did that sober.
But Paul, there was one thing that helped you along this week.
There was one thing that helped me this week.
For those of you who have been listening, if you think back to, I think it was the Beast de Gévaudan episode, where I talked about...
Mom, skip ahead 5 minutes.
There was this guy who, he was dating someone, but he wanted to hook up with me, and I wasn't feeling it, and I told him that, and I said, I want to focus on finding a real relationship for myself. I'm not feeling it, and he called me a slut and a whore who led him on, and Paul went for it.
I did, and you know what? It's funny, because he turned out to be the slut and the whore, and, well, actually, no. One thing is, in 2023 and 2024, we do not slut shame. He's not a slut and a whore. Neither are you, DJ.
Thank
I
you.
will say, maybe I shouldn't have went for it, but sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do.
I did warn you.
You did warn me.
But it came to the point where I said, I'm not like, I had a bad experience, but don't let me hold you back. And you didn't. And
I asked your permission too. I was like, DJ, is this gonna bug you?
wait, what did you do? What did you do? You did so funny. You messaged me in the work chat.
Yeah.
And it was like, I'm submitting a formal application for
a pass.
For a pass. And I sent back, what the fuck?
And I got the pass approved. And
well, actually, I said, you don't need a pass for me to do anything. That being said, it's approved.
But overall, it was a pretty okay experience. It happened, and you're right, it did help get through the week, a little stress relief, a little bop for the kids.
Fucking man.
So that we all need a little bop sometimes. And that's okay.
Exactly.
And you know what? I made it through the other side of the work week, okay? And here we are on the other side. And how about you, DJ? How was your week?
It was fine. I finally got over my cold, if you can't tell, because I sound so much better this week. And then just working overtime. We were required to do minimum 5.
Mm-hmm.
It was a little hard because we had to go in the office too, and it's really hard trying to get into the office early and...
Oh, yeah. Overtime in the office is awful.
Yeah. But yeah, we made it through the week, and I have a really good story for you all, and a really exciting development. This week, we will not be doing a paranormal pairing. Instead, we have a creepy cocktail.
Oh, a creepy cocktail. Tell me about it.
Well, what I have made for you is, it's called a White Russian.
Ooh, I know a few White Russians.
It is 2 parts vodka, 1 part coffee liqueur. I use Kahlua. And you top it off with cream. You can use any type of cream. Milk, soy milk, oat milk, almond milk, half and half, heavy whipping cream. I did my own twist, and I used Bailey's Irish cream for a little extra boozy twist.
Oh, okay.
So I did pre-mix them because I won't subject you to, like, me pouring and stirring. So, Paul.
Cheers. Ooh, that's good.
You like it because it's very coffee-y.
It is coffee-esque.
But you like it?
It is good. Okay. It kind of reminds me of chocolate a little bit.
Yeah, it's rich. It's very rich.
Mm-hmm. That's a good cocktail. I would definitely recommend that. For what would you drink that with even?
I don't know. I
almost want to eat candy with it, actual chocolate with it, It would
have to be dark chocolate because it's a little sweet.
Yeah, exactly. Or maybe a nice piece of cake or something. I don't know. Because this definitely, I don't feel like you would drink this with a meal or a steak or anything
No, definitely not. No. So while I was looking it up, one of the videos I saw said that it first came about in the 60s, and it really took place in the 70s, and I kind of went, that really makes sense. A drink with milk in it that's very 70s coded.
Tea.
But I think it's just one of those drinks, I think it's like a fondue party drink.
A fondue party drink.
Because think 70s, fondue, jello molds.
Yeah, they did that all the time in the
casseroles.
70s.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And just you have to put it into its concept, and then you suddenly go I can actually see a bunch of people walking around in high 70s, mid 70s,
yeah,
where the hair started to get big.
Mm-hmm.
And just everyone's smoking, everyone's drinking White Russians. There's a fondue pot going next to a jello mold.
Oh my god, that sounds like an awesome time, first of all.
See, tonight we're going out for our other bestie, Dan's birthday.
Shout out, Dan. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday. And he wants to go to the Casino Steakhouse. I was kind of hoping he was going to say Melting Pot, because it's just as expensive, but I love fondue.
Mm.
And I know you have very strong feelings about a fondue restaurant.
I've never been to one, actually.
I know, but I brought it up to you one time and you said, why am I going to go to a restaurant where I have to cook my own food?
Oh, yep. That sounds like me. I most likely, yeah.
Which is so funny because my aunt and uncle went to visit my grandmother's sister and her husband in Arizona once.
Mm-hmm.
And to thank them for letting my grandmother's sister and her husband for letting them stay, my aunt and uncle took them to a fondue restaurant. Mm-hmm. And my great aunt and her husband did nothing but complain about being taken to a restaurant where they had to do their own cooking. And they literally told my aunt and uncle, we could have just stayed home if we were going to cook.
See, that's very me-coded. Like, I don't want to cook at a restaurant. That's why I go to the restaurant.
No, it's fun. It's an experience. Have you
get
ever
it.
fondued?
Okay, no, I haven't fondued, and I get the experience. So I concede. I get it.
Paul thinks he knows what I'm doing.
Yeah, I think we're going to do leprechauns because we're doing the Irish Bailey cream and everything. But then now it's like Russian. I didn't know it was called a White Russian.
I know, and that was the point because I didn't want to give you too many hints too soon.
I don't know, girl. I don't even know anything spooky that's Russian, really.
All right, Paul, let me tell you a story.
I'm ready.
9 young students embarked on what should have been a routine hiking expedition. None of them returned. Instead, they were found barely clothed, having fled their tent and with unexplainable injuries. Who or what could have done this? Today, we will discuss the Dyatlov Pass Incident.
Wait, what's it called? The Dyatlov?
Yeah, the Dyatlov Pass Incident.
The Dyatlov
You
Pass
looked like
Incident.
you were about to know, like you had your hands on your head, you were really going, I knew it!
For a second, I thought you were going to say the Yeti. So how does this White Russian thing tie into whatever this... Because I've never heard of this.
You've never heard of this? Oh, get ready to get your socks knocked off. Wait, let's try that again. Get ready to have your socks knocked off.
I mean, I wouldn't mind having my socks locked either.
I also said, I think I said, yeah, get ready for your knocks to get locked off.
Either way.
All right, so our story takes place 1959 in the Soviet Union, now known as Russia. 10 students from the Ural Polytechnical Institute in Yekaterinburg embarked on a skiing and hiking expedition across the northern Ural Mountains in the Sverdlovsk Oblast. So Russia is bigger than the United States by land.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have states. It has oblasts.
Oh.
Which is like their smaller administrative.
Yeah, I know what
like
you mean.
a state. So, Paul, I'm going to show you a map of Russia. It's the like rich green. And then over here would be like Moscow and St. Petersburg. And then this is where the Dyatlov Pass is, right here, sort of in the middle.
Okay, so it's in the middle. It was
Sort
kind
of
of north, though, right?
It's like north middle. The Ural Mountains are a mountain range in Russia, and they separate European Russia from Asian Russia.
Oh.
Because Russia is one of the only countries in the world that's on 2 different continents.
I did not know that.
Yeah, and the separation goes right through the Ural Mountains.
It's probably cold as hell there, wherever this is.
Yeah, it's Russia, bitch.
Yeah. Oh, jeez. I wouldn't want to go on a hiking expedition in the cold. Mm-mm.
So the group consisted, as I mentioned, actually 9 students and a guide. And I'm going to go through the list. That was Igor Alexeyevich Dyatlov, the expedition leader, Yuri Nikolaevich Doroshenko, Ludmila Alexandrovna Dubinina, Georgy or Yuri Alexeyevich Krivoshenko, Alexander Sergeyevich Kolevatov, Zinaida or Zina Alexeyevna Kolmogorova, Rustem Vladimirovich Slobodin, Nikolai Vladimirovich Thibodeau Brenols, Semyon or Alexander Alexeyevich Zolotaryov, who was the guide, and Yuri Yefimyevich Yudin.
Okay. I'm not going to remember any of those names.
No, I'll kind of...
But at least I'm honest about
yeah,
it. But
yeah. I mean, there are a couple names that will come up over and over that will stand out more and more to you.
Mm-hmm.
And I have built in the notes because we're talking about 10 people.
Right.
Like, this is this person. Remember this.
Okay. I will need that. I will pay attention.
All of them were students except for Semyon Zolotaryov.
Mm-hmm.
And all of them were in their late teens or early 20s, also except for Zolotaryov, who was their mountain guide.
Okay. I'm sorry if you already said this, but they're university students?
Yes, they were studying at Ural Polytechnical Institute.
Okay.
Which is still around today, but it's not called that anymore. Don't ask me what it's called now because that's not important.
All right.
All 10 were grade 2 hikers and would receive their grade 3 certifications at the completion of the expedition. And grade 3 was the highest level that you could get in the certification.
Okay.
So they're all very experienced.
Okay. So I imagine, like, once you get your grade 3, you can, like, lead hikes and things like that. So, like, I guess grade 2, you can go on, like, dangerous hikes by yourself.
So it's also, like, the type of hikes that you can go on. Mm-hmm. Because remember, this is, like, a mountain. So, like, grade 1 is probably, like, very low-level hikes. And then grade 2 are, like, steeper, rougher terrain hikes. And then grade 3 is, like, you can do anything.
Okay, that makes sense.
The route was designed to take them to the far northern regions of the mountains, ultimately to Gora Ortorten, along a trail classified as a grade 3 in the very deepest part of winter. They're doing this in late January, early February. In Russia.
Why would
in the mountains.
What? For who? Why couldn't they wait until, like, when it was warmer?
It was also a skiing expedition.
Okay, I imagine there's snow in Russia in June.
May, actually.
May.
That comes up later.
Wait, so so is it warm in June there?
You have to remember that this is like a far northern country.
Mm-hmm.
So their warm and our warm is different.
Okay.
Our warm is like high 70s. Their warm is like
50.
Here, let's...
Now, don't be giving me that Celsius, because you know how I feel
about
Celsius.
I don't know. I don't know.
I'm American. Like...
So I'm just going to go with Yekaterinburg, where they're from. In January, February, there is a daily mean temperature of between 9.3 and 12.6 degrees Fahrenheit.
Oh, you wouldn't even catch me outside. There's no way.
But, like... Oh, and as I was saying, like... They're hot, so, like, their hottest month is July, and the mean temperature is 66 degrees Fahrenheit. So that's their hot.
Okay, 66 isn't bad. That's fine.
Like, that's a nice spring day here.
Yeah, that's fine.
But yeah, like, on this trip, the temperature does go below zero a number of times. But they're experienced hikers.
Bitch, experienced hikers can hike when it's warm outside. You ain't gotta do this when it's cold. What, for the fun of it? For who? I'm sorry, keep going.
Their route was approved by the local sports club on January 23rd, and Dyatlov told them before departing that he would sell a telegram back when the expedition was finished, roughly around February 12th.
Mm-hmm.
On that very day, they left Yekaterinburg by train. On the 24th, they had a layover in Severov, which was nearly disastrous. It involved 2 different run-ins with the local police, and Krivoshenko was nearly arrested.
Why?
So they had this layover, and they get off the train. And so this is like a rural train station, so it's not like a big building. It's like there's an outside platform. Like you get off, you're on an outside platform, which is like a porch. Mm-hmm. And then there's a building. Mm-hmm. And so they get off on the platform, and the people who worked at the station actually locked them out and wouldn't let them in despite the winter temperatures. And so they're staying around waiting, and Krivoshenko... So immediately the group was super friendly with one another, talking about life's big questions and very philosophical, deep conversations. One person brought their mandolin, which is a musical instrument, to play along the way.
Nice.
And they did a lot of singing. This is the late 50s.
Right.
This is Russia. I don't know how many people have TVs.
Right. They were just like bantering, gabbing
Exactly.
with the gals.
And so they get off and there's like this police officer who's like giving them dirty looks. And Krivoshenko says, "Come on guys, let's not get down, like let's have a song."
Mm-hmm.
And he starts to sing and this police officer grabs him and is like, "You're disturbing the peace, I'm gonna arrest you." And he actually like took Krivoshenko into the station. The group was like, "What do we do? What do we do?" And eventually the police officer brought Krivoshenko back and said, "I'm going to give you a warning. Don't disturb the peace again."
What is this? Footloose? Like,
This is Soviet Russia at the height of the Cold War.
that's crazy. Why are Russians always so angry? Like, calm down.
So the group ended up leaving the station. They went to a local school and they asked if they could store their belongings. And they ended up spending the day in the school with the students, just talking, showing them the equipment, talking about other expeditions, and just having a really nice day singing with the songs. Actually, at the end of the trip, as they were going to leave, a lot of the students burst into tears and begged them to not go and to just stay with them.
Oh, that's actually really precious.
Isn't it? And then they went back to the station to get back on the train because the end of the layover had occurred. When they had the second run-in with the police, there was an angry man who had followed them from the school who started to yell at them that the group had stolen his alcohol. And things nearly turned into a brawl with the police getting involved just as the train's getting ready, like it's tooting its horn to leave.
Oh my gosh.
And finally, like, the police, like, after, like, talking to this guy, smelling the alcohol on him, said, "You know what, you're drunk, you're out of mind." Told the kids to jump onto the train, and they made it out of there in the nick of time.
That's crazy. So this trip has already been a lot for them. They've ups and downs already.
The following morning at around midnight, at midnight, they arrived in Ivdel, which is 332 miles north of Yekaterinburg. So that's like the distance across our state.
Mm-hmm. That's a long ways.
That's a long ways. And the thing about Ivdel was it was a gulag settlement. Do you know what a gulag is?
Is that like a prison?
It's a prison camp.
Prison camp, okay.
So in Soviet Russia, and this is especially right after Stalinist Russia.
Mm-hmm.
So if you were a political dissenter or Stalin just didn't like you for whatever reason, because actually, funny story, Stalin thought that doctors would be a threat to his regime.
Mm-hmm.
So he either had all of the great doctors in the country executed or sent to the gulags in Siberia.
That's crazy.
And then he ended up, at the end of his reign of terror, he suffered a major stroke, and somebody remarked that if Stalin hadn't sent, like, somebody was like, "We have to get the best doctors," and it was like, he killed all the best doctors or sent them to prison.
Right, they're in the gulag.
So basically, he ended up killing himself because he got rid of all these good doctors.
He deserved it. Stalin was an awful dictator from what I gather.
Yes, he was. But gulags were like prison camps where like you were sent for hard labor in like the worst possible conditions.
I have a really stupid question.
There are no stupid questions, Paul.
Is that where goulash comes from?
No.
The dish?
No. No.
Okay, they sounded similar, so I was like, maybe they served goulash in the gulag.
I mean, they're both Eastern European.
Mm-hmm.
And goulash is an Eastern European dish.
Yeah.
So words do sound alike.
Right.
They then took an open-air truck from Ivdel to the village of Vizhai, which is the last settlement north. Okay, so mind you, this is an open-air truck.
Yeah, it's gonna be cold.
Yes.
Why are they so upset? Why are they so hell-bent on the cold?
They're in extremely rural areas in a brutal dictatorship.
Are they doing this for fun? Like, what's going on? Girl, they must not have many fun activities in Russia. Like, Jesus. Russia?
The Soviet Union.
Soviet Union. Either way, it sounds miserable.
In Soviet Union, the cold is you.
Apparently. At that point, you become one with the cold.
So they go to Vizhai and they spent the night in a guest cottage. Once again, it was really rough. There were only 4 beds, but there were 10 of them. So some of them slept on the floors. The others tried to squeeze into beds. But they're not getting a lot of sleep. They're either in trains or trucks or now in this guest house. And from Viz High, they hired a local guide and a horse to help show them the way and to carry the extra equipment. Because they're like, when I say like they're going on a hiking trip, I mean they're going. They have skis, they have food, they have tents, they have a stove to like cook.
They're ready, girl. They're getting up in the gig.
This is a real like expedition.
Yeah, I mean, they're very prepared. Sounds like they're very well trained. They're very well prepared. So I'm like interested to see how this goes wrong and what's going on.
And since they were doing this to get their grade 3 certification, the group kept a group diary as well as assorted members kept diaries. And they also brought cameras and photographed. I am going to show you a collective picture of the entire group.
Okay, there are some very attractive men.
Russian men are very, very attractive.
Oh my god, they look angry, which makes them even more attractive.
Well, this was Russia in the 50s.
Wow.
And then I'm going to show you some of the pictures they took on the expedition. And you can see, like, it's just a group of college kids having fun, hanging out. And I do have, like, one picture where they're actually hiking.
Yeah, they're smiling, having a good time, braving the cold, doing the thing.
Yeah, it's just a happy group of college kids who are all outdoorsy. They're all outdoorsy people.
Right, it's their version of spring break, except
exactly
in the snow.
So they went north to a geological camp. So that's where, like, scientists were there studying, like, the geology of the area. And from there, they set out in earnest with, like, no more human contact. Into the woods, into the forest, up the mountain.
Have people done this hike before them? I imagine so, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So that was on the 27th of January. And in this area, there's also a local indigenous tribe called the Mansi people. And so for a good part of the trip, they actually used Mansi trails. So, like, trails that had been used by these indigenous people, and there were signs used by the indigenous people saying, like, this is where you are, this is who had been through here, this is the kind of animals you'll see around here. But those signs were all in the local Mansi language.
Oh, so they can't even read them.
Exactly. But they have a guide.
Okay, hopefully the guide reads Mansi.
So, the following day, Yuri Yudin had to back out of the trip. He had a number of health problems, including a congenital heart defect and rheumatism, which were, I mean, think about it. Remember when I said, like, they've spent, like, very little sleep, trains, open bed trucks, cold guest houses. This has taken a toll on him.
And you get higher altitude, too.
Exactly.
Like,
so,
mess with you.
With a lot of regret, he said that he would have to turn around. And because he was not well, he could not go alone, so the guide and the horse returned with him.
Not the whole guide. Isn't the guide supposed to be, like, there the whole time?
But they had maps. This was, like, so people had been through here. I mean, also, like, not only the Mansi, but also Russian people, like, they had, like, a guidebook showing them the route that they should take.
I don't know. I just feel like the guide should have stayed, and they should have, because they had already walked it. They should have sent someone else back down with them. What's going on?
Well, who are you going to send down? Like, the person you hired? Like, they probably got a refund.
I don't know. Something about that doesn't sit right with me, but we'll move on.
So, as I mentioned, so now they have to carry all the equipment themselves. But there's 9 of them. Just break it up amongst 9 people.
Right. Why didn't the guy leave the... was he that sick that he needed the horse?
No, but it was his horse. How was he sure he was going to get it back?
How are these kids... I don't know.
Paul, you're thinking about this as like a 21st century American. Think about it. You're like a 1950s college kid in Soviet Russia.
I guess people were probably a little more protective.
I mean, this is a regime that literally murdered children. Like, the Soviet regime was built on the murder of children. They killed the last emperor's children just to get rid of them. It's like, well, we got to get rid of the emperor. We got to get rid of his wife because they're too political. We got to get rid of the son so nobody tries to put him on the throne. But there's 4 daughters. What are we going to do? Kill them too.
That's crazy.
You've never heard that story? We're going to cover that eventually.
Okay. Well, I guess I will try and look at it through a different lens.
Yeah, And, like, everything that we know about Soviet Russia, the secrecy, the gulags, the prison camps, the unexplained executions, like, it's very much like, and this is like a brutal dictator regime. Like, you can't speak out against the government or you'll get disappeared.
I guess you'd be very protective of your horse.
Yes. As I mentioned, the group kept they kept a group diary talking about what they did, their progress. They took photographs. And I mentioned earlier, the group was super friendly. They had fun, but ultimately the physical exertion and the cold started to take its toll, as well as the tight quarters of, like, sleeping in a tent every night.
Mm-hmm.
And it started to lead to a little bit of tension.
Well, that makes sense, honestly. I'd be a little on edge too, probably.
Zenaida, one of the girls, if you didn't notice, like, there were, like, out of the 9,
there were like 2 girls?
Yeah, only 2 girls and 7 men. Zenaida wrote in her diary that the men told very stupid jokes, and she hoped that if she stopped paying attention to them, the men would start ignoring her.
I mean, as a man, I can say we do make stupid jokes.
Yeah, and I mean, it just happens. It was just like, these men tell stupid jokes. It was probably like sex jokes.
Yeah, honestly, and they might have even been some about her. Who knows?
Who knows? And she was just like, maybe if I ignore them, they will ignore me.
Right.
And then one night, a fight actually broke out amongst the group because they decided that Krivoshenko would be the one to sleep closest to the tent entrance that night without getting his input. Now, remember, Krivoshenko is the one who nearly got arrested.
Mm.
He also was one of the people to sleep on the floor when they stayed at the guest house in Vizhai.
Mm-hmm.
So he just blew up and was like, no, I can't believe you all betrayed me. And eventually they were just like, suck it up, Buttercup, go sleep by the tent door. And so he proceeded to spend the night periodically loudly venting his frustrations at the situation, keeping the rest of the group awake.
Ah, he's one of those guys. But also, it sounds like he had a rough trip and whatnot, and I guess closest to the door is the coldest spot, so...
Yeah. I mean, I also read that it was closest to the stove.
Oh, so maybe it wasn't the coldest spot.
So maybe it wasn't the coldest spot, but it was, if anything tried to come in, he's the one sitting there. And also, if something wrong happens to the stove, he's right there.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
So the tension bleached into the following days, but not only the tension, but also the tiredness.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're hiking like a couple miles a day.
That's
through
a
the
lot.
snow, carrying heavy equipment on your back.
Oh yeah, that's a lot.
And the weather started to take a cold turn. Up till now, it had actually been pretty temperate. Actually, like, there were a couple times where they'd have to stop in the middle of the hike to wipe the bottoms of their shoes because the snow was so wet from, like, starting to melt.
Mm-hmm.
And then it just, like, started to get colder. They had planned to follow a river that ran through the area.
Mm-hmm.
Which...
why not?
Yeah, because, like, rivers are good because you can easily find your way back. However, the formation of ice dams made it impossible.
Okay, what's an ice dam?
An ice dam is like when there's ice and it dams the water.
There you go. Makes sense, I guess.
I wasn't trying to, like...
Excuse the fuck. No, I'm kidding.
It wasn't at you. It was... I didn't look up what an ice dam was and why you couldn't follow the river because of it.
It's fine.
They couldn't. These are... Paul, these are outdoorsy people. I am not.
Same. All of this is foreign territory for me. The fact that someone would even want to do this on purpose.
I lost you when I said hiking trip.
Oh, I would go on a hiking trip, just not in the cold.
I lost you when I said hiking trip in Russia.
Exactly.
So, since they couldn't follow the river, they had to follow a trail created by the indigenous Mansi tribe that I mentioned before. I also mentioned that there were signs, but they were in a Mansi language, which none of them spoke.
Right.
Actually, I was looking at the transcriptions of their diaries, and some of them actually had, like, a little translation in there at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't like anything groundbreaking. Like, there could have been a lot of room for, like, air. Like, they had, like, snow, left, right. But, like, what if you get there and it says, like, do not go this way, reindeer. And it's like, what are these symbols?
Exactly. They could have went the complete wrong way on accident.
So this led to more tension because they had no idea what was the correct path to take because they couldn't read the signs. And the group actually, like, more tension grew around them, and they started to bicker over work assignments, rest times, who was slowing them down.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, every night you gotta, like, set up the tent and, like, Jesus, Paul, I have to set up the tent again. I did it last night and the night before that. When are you gonna set up the tent?
Right. Normal human things.
Oh, so-and-so gets to rest again? Did they not get a rest the last time? I think they're slowing us down. We'd make a lot more progress if they would have stayed behind.
Yeah, I mean, that's just natural, like, human arguments, I feel like.
So, the final entry in the group diary ends with this. Tired and exhausted, we start to prepare the platform for the tent. Firewood is not enough. We didn't dig a hole for a fire, too tired for that. We had supper right in the tent, hundreds of kilometers away from human settlements.
Jeez. If I were them, I would have turned around, honestly.
But they're so close.
Oh, are they really that close? I thought they still had a while to go. Okay.
Just a couple days.
Only a couple days. Okay.
But they've been hiking for, like, they've been traveling for a week.
Okay, I get that. If you've been traveling for a week,
They
okay.
left, so think about it.
What's
This is
2 more days? 3 more days?
So, like, so we've hit January 31st.
Mm-hmm.
They left on the 27th from Yekaterinburg.
Mm-hmm.
You're really going to turn around after 4 days because you're tired?
That's a good point.
And also, like, they're college kids. There's actually, like, when they took the train from Yekaterinburg, some of them hid from the conductor under seats so that they didn't have to pay because they didn't have enough money to go for tickets.
That's iconic. I'm here for that.
So, like, think about, like, the equipment you had to buy because, like, you're probably, like, buying your portion of the food for the trip.
Right, you're buying food, equipment, tickets, all that jazz.
Yeah. So, like, it's kind of like if you and I decided to drive down to Florida.
Mm-hmm.
Like, are we really going to turn around in northern Georgia?
Right.
Because something went wrong?
That makes sense. That makes sense.
On January 31st, they reached a highland area and stored food and supplies for their return trip and began to make preparations to begin climbing to the summit.
Okay.
However, a snowstorm struck the area, which would have made it extremely hard to traverse, especially with low visibility. You know, like when snow's coming at you really fast and you can't see very far?
Yeah, yeah.
It is thought that in the weather and low visibility that they had gotten lost and deviated off their pass, and they got deviated off their route. They made camp on the slope of another mountain summit called Kolat Skakel. Sorry, I don't speak Russian. Or translated, Mountain of the Dead.
Well, that sounds promising.
9 miles south of Ortorton, but traveling the wrong way. Rather than retreating the 0.93 mile down to the shelter of some woods below, they set up camp on the slope in the pass. They did not bother to make a fire or set up the stove. They did take pictures of what appears to be bright orbs in the sky, but the images are unclear and may be due to camera damage.
Okay, I could see the camera damage thing. Okay, yeah, they're in the snow and all that jazz.
So that was January 31st.
So, to recap, from what I gather, they're making a lot of poor decisions tonight. They are out in the open, no wood coverage. They're not setting up heat sources. They're just like, screw it, we're just going to do this here.
I believe. I heard in one source that they didn't set up the stove.
Mm-hmm.
But in another one said that the stove may have malfunctioned.
Mm-hmm.
So don't quote me on the stove. But they did not make a fire.
Okay.
They definitely did not make a fire.
Okay.
On February 12th, no word came from Dyatlov to mark the completion of the expedition. However, delays were inevitable due to weather, shit happening. This is Soviet Russia. Telegrams, I'm sure, get lost.
That would make sense. I mean, I would still be worried, but...
But also, Dyatlov had told Yudin before he departed the expedition that it was likely to take longer than the 12th.
Right. I mean, that makes sense. Everything you just said, shit happens.
Yeah. And I know I said I'll send it around the 12th. It's probably going to take longer. So you're going back to Yekaterinburg, let everyone know.
Right.
However, by the 20th, when no news had come, the relatives of the hikers demanded local authorities begin a search. And the first search parties, consisting of volunteer students and teachers from the institute, set out. Soon the police and the army were called in to aid in the search using planes and helicopters.
Oh, geez. They called in everyone.
Yeah. Because, think about it. Probably, after the first day, you know where they're going.
Right.
And then it's no one's here.
Right. And it's 10, well, I guess 7 people now? 8 people?
9.
9 people now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because there were 10, and then your Yudin backed out.
Mm-hmm.
On February 26, searchers found the group's tent badly damaged, half pulled down, and covered with snow. They discovered it had been cut from the inside out, and all of the group's belongings, clothes, and shoes were left behind.
Jeez.
Sorry, for those of you who know the story and are listening in, I'm milking this because Paul doesn't know this, and the first time you hear a spooky story is just immaculate.
Right, I'm on the edge of my seat.
Around the tent were 9 sets of frozen footprints of people either in socks, 1 sock and 1 shoe, or entirely barefoot, leading down the slope to the woods below.
Oh my god. Could you imagine being barefoot in that cold? Just frostbite instantly.
At the bottom of the slope, at the foot of a large Siberian... Hang on, I have Siberian pine, but I feel like it was a different type of tree. It was a cedar. I don't know why and I saw one that said it was a pine. I don't know why it said it was pine. It was a cedar.
Okay.
There's a large cedar tree with branches broken up to 16.5 feet off the ground.
16 feet?
16.5 feet, Paul.
That's that's high.
There, they found the remains of a small fire and the bodies of Krivoshenko and Doroshenko, both dressed in only their underwear.
Hot.
As they searched, they also found the bodies of Dyatlov, Kolmogorova, and Slobodin at various points between the pine and the tent, suggesting they were attempting to return to the tent for their belongings and supplies. The other 4, Dubinina, Thibaut-Brunels, Zolotaryov, and Kolovatov, weren't found until May 4th, under 13 feet of snow and a ravine 246 feet away from the tree. 3 of them were dressed better than the rest, most likely having taken the clothes off of the dead.
Oh my gosh. That's wild. 13 feet of...
So this is the tent as they found it on the 26th of February.
Oh my gosh. Complete shreds. And I imagine, they probably cut it open in the wind to, cut it, made it open more and things,
And then, this is a diagram of where the bodies were found. So there's the tent, there's the tree, and then Koroshenko and Doroshenko, and then Kolmogorova, Slobodin, and Dyatlov. And then the other 4.
Mm-hmm.
And then... this is where they were found. There's Otorten. So you can see they were going the wrong way.
Oh my gosh. That's crazy.
But you look so, you're just you're what the fuck?
I'm trying to take it all in, girl. Keep going. I need more information.
Well, discovery doesn't mean answers.
Mm-hmm.
Immediately upon discovery, an inquest was held and thorough medical examinations were performed on the 5 hikers who had initially been found. Krivoshenko had third-degree burns on his hands and feet, and his clothes had been exposed to radiation.
What the fuck?
Yet, Doroshenko, who was beside him, did not have any radiation, but had bit off part of his own knuckle.
Girl, what is going on in here on this day?
Dyatlov had been vomiting blood in his final hours. Kolmogorova had a bruise on her waist that was shaped like she had been struck. Slobodin was found with a fractured skull from forced trauma.
Keep going. I'm taking this all in, girl. I need some time. I need to hear what's all going on.
Yuri Kuntsevich, then 12 years old, attended 5 of the hikers' funerals and remarked that they all had a deep brown tan.
Sister?
The inquest ruled the deaths the result of hypothermia.
But are they covering it up? Like I always say, wake up, sheeple.
Wait. It gets worse.
I'm ready.
The discovery of the bodies of the 4 others found in May were another case. They were found near a crudely built shelter, but not inside it. But at the bottom of a creek in the stream of water, under 13 feet of snow, as I mentioned above. Thibaut Brinols had major skull damage. Both Dubinina and Zolotaryov had major chest fractures likened to those caused in a high-speed car crash.
What the fuck?
All the injuries were entirely internal, as if caused by extreme pressure, as if someone had tried to pop open their rib cages by squeezing them. Dubinina was missing her tongue, eyes, part of her lips. Her nasal cavity had been flattened, and portions of her face were gone, revealing her skull. Zolotaryov was missing his eyeballs, and an eyebrow was gone, revealing his skull, but had a camera and a notepad on him with no evidence in it. Kolovatov was missing his eyebrows, and his skin had turned gray-green with specks of purple, and his neck was deformed. All of them had radiation on their clothes and in their body tissue. At the campsite, equipment and other items that Yuri Yudin, the sole survivor after backing out, had never seen before. One such item was an emote, which is a large piece of clothing that is wrapped around the feet or legs for warmth and commonly used by soldiers.
Mm-hmm.
An ice axe. The group had only brought 1, but 2 had been found.
What?
Both of these items were logged in the original investigation and then were subsequently lost and unable to be examined in further investigations, meaning that no one was able to determine if either of those items were military issue.
Girl, what is going on?
The official inquest was concluded in May of 1959, just 19 days after the discovery of the final 4 hikers, and the determination was that no human was involved in foul play due to the nature of the injuries being too great to have been done by a person. The official ruling was that the group had died of a compelling natural force. The government then classified all documents regarding the incident.
Girl, what natural force? You can't just, I need answers. Say that, what is going on? It doesn't make sense. I know you're gonna get into theories.
I'm just letting you have your moment.
Girl, if I had to guess right now what was going on, a little bit of it sounds like aliens, and I know that's gonna be one of the theories, because it's always one of the theories.
Let's get into the natural theories.
Alright, I'm ready.
An avalanche.
Well, where's the snow? Girl, where's the snow? I mean, homegirl's under 13 feet of snow, but why isn't everyone else under the fucking snow?
Exactly. So the first explanation was that the group had fled due to an avalanche or fear of one, and fled and could not find their way back to the tent, therefore dying of hypothermia.
Okay, maybe I could see that. But the injuries.
However, the injuries.
Yeah.
I mean, the theory goes that they were pushed by the avalanche into the creek. But I'm going to show you this map again. So there's forest here separating them from the slope in the creek.
Yeah, the trees would have been fucking knocked down.
The trees would have been knocked over.
Mm-hmm.
And it also would have slowed the avalanche.
Right.
Also, the 4 that are lying on the slope side of the trees.
They probably wouldn't be on the slope.
Exactly. Like, yeah, you get buried, but wouldn't they be buried going down because they got knocked over?
Yeah, exactly.
But they were... Because you can see the positions of how they were found.
Mm-hmm. They're like...
They're...
Going up.
Exactly, that followed going up towards the tent.
Sister. Sorry, keep going.
There's another theory that, like, the wind could have, like, piled, like, the snow up on one side of the tent, making them think that an avalanche was going to occur, and they fled. However, this theory has been put forward from the time of the incident, and as late as 2020, when the Russian government itself advocated this theory.
I mean, I could see it maybe. Like, yeah, the wind put them in. They thought it was going to be an avalanche.
But also, they
cut
did
their
it.
way out.
They also... So this area is not prone to avalanches.
Mm-hmm.
And they did a test. And even if there was an avalanche, the avalanche would have bypassed the tent.
But if they thought it was an avalanche and they cut their way out...
The injuries.
That's true, the injuries. And honestly, the tree thing, 16 feet up, like, why were they...
So that could have been from them climbing up either to find the tent or to get kindling to build the fire.
Yeah, but why weren't they just...
16 feet?
That's really high. And like,
so, like, an average person is 5'8", so that's like...
They would have had to fucking climb, bitch.
That's just under... I'm 5'8". That's just under 3 of me.
Right.
You know how tall I am. I'm 5'8". Somebody, like, if you're listening to how many you would see, measure 5'8". Times that by 3.
Right. That's
and
so
you
high.
roughly get that.
And they're tired. It's the middle of the night, probably. They're probably
not
scared
clothed.
Right. Like, what is going on? I need to hear the... I'm sorry. I know I'm pushing you towards, like, ready to hear the next thing, but I am so into... I need to know.
So the next thing is a katabatic wind. A katabatic wind are violent winds that carry high-density air down a slope at high speeds. Mm-hmm. They're extremely violent, and actually, in the 1970s, it is believed to have killed 8 and injured one hiker in Sweden. Mm-hmm. So this wind would have been blowing down the slope and would have been shaking the tent so hard, it would have made it impossible for the group to stay in there, making them choose to flee for safety instead. This also could have pushed the snow up against the side of the tent, making them think that there was an avalanche.
Okay.
However, the injuries...
Right, where did these injuries come from? Where did the tan come from? You're not going to get a tan from an avalanche or anything. Yes.
Infrasound. Do you know what infrasound is, Paul?
No.
Okay, I didn't know if we discussed that yet or not. Infrasound is a low-frequency sound that, infrasound or low-frequency sound, it has not been proven, but it is a theory that there are certain sounds that are so low that our ears cannot register hearing them, while they still have an effect on the body and can cause anxiety, agitation, and perhaps even temporary insanity.
Okay.
Like, you're just driven insane by it. Because it causes anxiety and agitation. And
I could see it.
so, the theory goes that the wind blowing through the mountains down the slope emitted the infrasound, which either caused discomfort leading to the group leaving the tent, or causing panic among them, causing them to flee, or amongst one of them. Maybe one of them just start beating at the tent, cutting out, and running, and the rest of them chase them. Mm-hmm. We're in the realm of possibility here. Because if one or a few of them went crazy, that could explain the injuries.
Right.
UFOs.
Okay, I'm ready for this one.
You remember I mentioned that they had seen spheres overhead.
Yeah.
So there is that one picture.
Okay, but also...
I'm not even going to pull it up because it's not worth looking at because it's so vague.
And it could be, like, camera damage, like you said.
Exactly, because
it
was actually... Yeah, we're going to keep talking and I'm going to bring it up while we're talking. But, so how do we know? Because actually there were other people in the area who saw bright orange and yellow spheres in the sky that night.
That's crazy that it was the same night they were up there and they saw the same spheres. Listen, there, in my opinion, is no such thing as a coincidence. And I don't think that's a coincidence. Like, girl, if it's yellow and it quacks, it's probably a duck. You know what? That was probably a dumb thing to say because I don't think all ducks are yellow.
Okay.
Are there any yellow ducks?
So here is the picture of the spheres.
Girl, that's like nothing. That could have been...
so like I didn't even want to bring it up, but other people had seen it.
Comment down below if there's yellow ducks. I'm curious now.
There are yellow ducks.
Drop pictures of your favorite yellow duck on our Facebook or Instagram or Twitter.
It's very common you have stories that UFOs emit radiation.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe a UFO tried to make landing, they just ran into the kids. Or maybe aliens came down and tortured the kids, and that explains the injuries.
Exactly. And the radiation. And the
radiation.
Ooh. That's making a lot of sense to me. I don't know about y'all at home, but...
And then my last one, well, I mean, since we do not have proof of alien contact, I believe in aliens. I think it's safe to say that everyone believes in aliens, that there's alien life out there. However, since there's not proof of alien contact, we're still in nature.
You just skipped right to UFO, girl.
I know. I got ahead of myself. You're talking about UFOs. I skipped.
Well, what else could nature have to even, like...
So those are the natural ones, and then these are the extra natural, so UFO.
Mm-hmm.
These are extra, not natural, unnatural. UFOs.
Okay, but also, like, what if UFOs are natural? Because they're, like, beings. Just doing
No,
their
they're
thing.
spaceships.
Well,
Comment below, are UFOs beings or are they spaceships carrying beings?
Well, they are. What I mean is, like, aliens are, like, biological beings,
Yes.
just not from here. So is that supernatural, or is that just, like...
It's extra natural.
Exactly. What is it? Comment below.
The Yeti.
Mm-hmm. I said that earlier.
Yes, you did.
Period.
Because with the White Russian.
Yeah.
So, in one of the last of the group's photos, there's an unidentified figure, man-like, unfocused, underlit, and appears to be lurching towards them, perhaps showing a Yeti. Let me get this picture.
OMG. Okay, ignore. I'm so sorry for the folks at home that I just said OMG out loud, but OMG, that looks like the Yeti. That looks like that one old-ass video of that Bigfoot. That everyone...
The Patterson Gimlin film?
Yeah. That
I love
looks
the Patterson.
like...
Okay,
that.
so in high school, me and my mother both, that's how you know it's real when your mom gets into it with you. Because of that Animal Planet show, Finding Bigfoot, we got into a major Bigfoot stage and she liked reading, but she wasn't in her reading stage yet. She bought me, for Christmas, 6 books on Bigfoot.
Oh my gosh.
And she is the reason why I am the way I am.
That's iconic. You and your mom had Bigfoot, and me and my mom had Ghost Adventures.
Oh my god. No, me and my dad watched Ghost Adventures, and my dad would make fun of it.
My mom wouldn't make fun of it. Oh my god, we would get so scared. But that's a topic for another time.
So, for those of you who don't know what a Yeti is, it is a cousin of the Sasquatch that resides in the wintry mountaintops, notably in the Himalayas and in the Urals, where the Mansi call them Menk. M-E-N-K. Menk.
Okay, so there's already, lore about the Yeti.
Yes, there's lore. So it's not like, well, Yeti, winter, snow, they're here.
Exactly.
No tinfoil hat. There is actually, Mansi lore about, Yeti-like creatures. So this theory goes that the Yeti had stalked the group for some time, explaining the picture, and that the group had inadvertently set up camp in the Yeti's territory. As they slept, a Yeti or a group of Yetis approached the tent and growled or howled and maybe even pawed at the side of the tent, because there were multiple, small terrors, maybe as if they were trying to look out, maybe if something was trying to get in, and then the slashes bringing it down. Leading the group to eventually cut themselves out and flee, with the Yeti giving chase and killing them off.
See, but a Yeti wouldn't give them radiation or a tan.
Unless they naturally emit radiation.
Why would a Yeti emit...
I don't know. I'm just spitballing here.
Girl, let's be real. Because at the end of the day, a Yeti would be a natural creature that's just here, just when we don't understand fully, things like that. From what I gather anyway. And I don't know many natural creatures that are emitting enough radiation to give people tans.
You're right.
Especially like mammals.
Yeah, no, I don't think yetis emit radiation, honestly. So far, because
Well,
of everything, hypothermia and an avalanche doesn't sound like the most.
plausible.
No.
No. Did you ever ride that Yeti ride at Disney World?
Yes. I
Isn't
went with
it
Mike.
iconic?
It
Oh
was
my
kind
gosh.
of. So I'm not a big roller coaster person, so like me going on it with Mike was a big, for me, was a big deal. I was really scared and he was like making fun of me for it.
It's a pretty good. I mean, it's scary. Don't get me
Yeah.
wrong, but it's a good roller coaster. If you ever find yourself in Disney World, I don't know what it's called, but get on that Snow Mountain Yeti roller coaster.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. It's a fun time. Our last theory. Oh, let me do one more one. This one's like, it's not natural, but it's not supernatural.
Okay.
So I guess the way you could categorize my theories were natural, supernatural, and then we're going to get into the foul play.
Foul play. Okay.
So one theory is that there were tensions. Maybe a fight broke out amongst the group. Maybe over sleeping arrangements. Maybe over one of the girls. I mean, who was it? It was Zina Kolmogorova. Was pretty.
Yeah. Yeah.
So maybe
She's pretty.
maybe a fight broke out over
One of the girls, which I could see happen.
one of the girls, although there's no evidence in any of the diaries of anything other than like schoolgirl crushes and schoolboy crushes.
Right.
And also, yeah, there were tensions, but it was mostly tensions over like work. Like, why is it suddenly going to be like, I like her and you're trying to steal her away from me?
But at the same time, you put a person in the right situation. They're cold. They're tired. They're over it. Like
It brings you to physical blows that leads to you all dying over a girl.
That's true. Like, we didn't hear anything about signs of a suicide, because I imagine one of them would have had to commit suicide if they killed. Well, no, because, like, a few of them, like, none of them, like, there are a few of them that died that didn't have injuries, so that doesn't really make sense unless, like, the fight
No, they all had pretty unexplained injuries.
Oh, even the people climbing up the mountain?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, never mind.
Dyatlov had been vomiting blood. Slobodin had the fractured skull.
Well, just vomiting blood, that doesn't mean, like, unless someone punched you in the stomach pretty hard.
You don't normally vomit blood, Paul.
Exactly.
So why is he doing it?
My point in saying that was like, how would you vomit blood from a fight unless someone punched you that hard or something?
They could have.
Well, was there signs of that? Who
No,
knows?
because there were no external signs of any of the injuries except for the bruise.
Exactly, so it probably wasn't a fight.
So I'm going to get into my last theory here.
Okay.
Secret military testing.
Ooh, girl.
Yuri Yudin, the sole survivor of the expedition, maintained from the incident onwards that his friends had been murdered, most likely by the Soviet military. The disappearing documents from the investigations and the hasty sealing of the documents support this theory, as does the radiation found on the clothing and the unexplained injuries.
Mm-hmm.
So the theory goes that the students camped at the site of a weapons test or within signs of a weapon test, or perhaps of like a maneuvers, like a what's it called when like a SEAL team.
Oh,
like they're like training.
Right. Like a special forces team was training.
So perhaps they were testing like parachute mines, which are mines you drop on parachutes and they explode overhead, which makes sense because along with those, the bright orange and yellow orbs, the tops of the trees weren't burnt.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
So yeah, it could have been ball lightning.
Mm-hmm.
It could have been a UFO. Or it could have been a parachute mine.
That's sounding pretty plausible.
The military observing the test then moved in when they realized that people had witnessed this to attack and murder the witnesses thinking that they're spies. This is the height of the Cold War. These are people you have never seen before.
Right, and they're paranoid and like... I could see that very much happening.
Yeah. This is like Soviet Russia.
They're very intense, cutthroat people. Like, girl, side note, these white Russians are strong.
Yes.
If you're ever trying to have a good night with
It's
some
pure liquor.
girl,
There's no mix.
and it tastes good. If you're ever trying to have a good night with your friends, make yourself some white Russians, because girl, this'll get you there. I had this drink and I'm feeling it. So,
okay, so this picture, I'm going to show you. I'm going to cover up this side. So do you see this picture? The theory's been put forward by, like, image analysis that what it shows is people are in a fire, one of them carrying a gun. And here's a digital recreation of what it may show.
Okay.
So, they've seen something they don't. Even though they're just Russian kids who are somewhere where they're not supposed to be. This is the height of the Cold War. Spies, espionage. The military moves in, kills some of them off the get-go, torture some of them for what they know.
Right. Everyone's on edge. Like, I would be so upset. Like, if that happened to me.
I couldn't find it in my research, but in hearing another podcast, all of them were buried. Most of them are buried in, like, not a mass grave, but they're all buried with one another. They're all buried in lead coffins. Lead is used to hamper radiation.
Yeah.
At the government paid for them. For the lead coffins, you think their family's like, I want a lead coffin.
Right, that's crazy. Shady as fuck. Crazy. The military did it. Wake up, sheeple.
The covering up.
Oh, yeah. This was a military operation. Trust and believe.
These are very strong because I'm losing my train of thought. The flashes of light. Yeah. So, the majority of the hikers were buried in Mikhailovsk Cemetery together with a memorial there for them. And also, a memorial was placed at the site of the Dyatlov Pass, which was named for Igor Dyatlov, the group expedition. So that's the monument in the cemetery to them. And then that's the memorial at the site of the Dyatlov Pass.
Okay. And just a friendly reminder, all these pictures will be on our Instagram. Well,
not all of them, because I'm going to show you a picture of Rustem Slobodin in his casket before the funeral.
Yeah, we won't post that one on Instagram.
No.
I mean, you can Google it if you want.
If you want to see some really brutal photos, all these photos can be found at dyatlovpass.com.
Oh, they got them up there they got a whole website. They
have autopsy photos.
They have autopsy photos?
When I said me researching this, like, kept me up last night, I found the autopsy photos.
On God's internet? That's crazy.
After we record, I'm going to show you, because if I have to live with this, you have to live with this.
On Ariana Grande's internet? On Taylor Swift?
So this is the body of Rustem Slobodin.
He looks like a burn victim. That's crazy.
And here's the thing. What does radiation... So radiation can, like, obviously kill you from the inside, but what does it do to the skin?
Burns. Radiation burns.
Dark, brown, tans.
Yeah, that's crazy.
The mystery has been covered in a variety of documentaries, films, television shows, including Discovery Channel's Expedition Unknown, where they actually went to the actual Dyatlov Pass. And on podcasts, including ours.
Hello.
In 2020, the Russian government published a report of a recent investigation from 2015 to 2019. And they stated irrefutably that the group died in an avalanche. But I will say the Soviet era's history of cover-up, misinformation, secrecy, along with the disappearing evidence, investigators who suddenly left the case, because, like, police officers are investigating this, were super in on it, and then suddenly just went, yeah, it was an avalanche.
Crazy.
And Putin's Russia's continuation of Soviet-era practices leave many, including me, dubious as to an avalanche actually causing it.
I agree. We're on the same page. It was a military thing. Well, I can't say it was, but I think it was. And you know what? One thing about me is I like supernatural explanations about things. I love to think like, oh, it was ghosts, it was aliens, because I'm a firm believer in those things. But I very much feel like it might have been a military thing.
And just before we end, I am going to show you the body of Semyon Zolotaryov.
Mm-hmm.
Just because this is the picture that I saw that scared the living shit out of me.
Oh my... What is going... He doesn't have eyes.
His eyes were gone.
What did they do with his eyes? Why would the military take his eyes, though?
Torture.
What the heck? That's crazy. I'm gonna need 5 business days to get over this, because this is crazy.
Paul, I honestly don't know if I can record next week because this fucked me up. This one fucked me up.
This is crazy, actually.
You've never heard the story?
No.
Ever.
Oh my god.
Jesus.
Like, this is the definition of wake up, sheeple. Like,
that's... And don't go back to sleep.
Exactly. Like, this is... Girl, I'm shook. The Soviet Union, like, I get that was probably, like, a long time. No, it was a long time ago.
It was 70 years ago. No, it was 60... Wait, oh my god. So I went on the website today to, like, try and, like, look at their diaries. And do you know what I found out?
What?
So we're recording this on January 13th.
Yeah.
Today, I shit you not, is Igor Dyatlov's birthday.
Girl...
I shit you not. Igor Dyatlov was born on January 13th.
There are no coincidences. That's crazy. There are no coincidences, DJ. That's crazy.
I went on there because I didn't have an intro written. I was like, maybe I'll just like read something like spooky out of the diary. Mm-hmm. And because it's a memorial site, they have like on the front, like, today remember so-and-so for this. Mm-hmm. And like, it was like, it had birthdays because one of them was born on the 11th, one of them was born on the 12th of January. And then the last one, I saw 13 and I was like, oh my god, it's Igor Dyatlov's birthday. And we're recording this episode.
That's crazy. Well, rest in peace.
All 9 of them.
Right.
Also, in 2013, after Yuri Yudin died, they did erect a memorial to him nearby. Mm-hmm. Because, like, if he had gone with them, he would have died with them.
That makes sense.
Like, the only reason why he survived was because he left prior.
With the guide, which maybe this wouldn't happen if the guide would have stayed with them like he was.
You have many questions for me after this episode, but I only have one question for you. Smash or pass? Frosty the Snowman?
Frosty the Snowman? Jeez, I'm gonna have to pass. Cause he might be a jolly, happy soul, but he's a little too cold. It wouldn't feel too good sticking it in.
But think of how long you would last.
I don't have that problem.
Whoa! Okay.
Sorry, Mom.
Yeah, this one was a wild one.
This was a crazy episode. You honestly have me shook right now. Again, like I said before,
I cannot believe you've never heard the story. Because you like paranormal too. Jesus. Well, you also don't have cable. And like, what I do on Sundays, I don't really get hangovers anymore. But in the olden days, like when I was partying hard with you all and my friends when I was younger, on Sundays when I was a little hungover, I would, because I live with my grandparents, we have a finished basement, which is like a family room. I'd go down there, and I don't like cable, especially on the weekends because there's nothing on. Mm-hmm. But I do like watching like Discovery Channel and like things like that because like it's just good to have on. Like it's interesting, but you can also do it in the background as you like play on your phone.
Yeah,
and like there's like mysteries of the unexplained, and like this comes up all the time, and like. What the fuck?
It's crazy.
What the fuck?
Exactly.
This is okay, so this isn't unexplained. It's not paranormal. It's just unexplained, and it's just what the fuck.
Right. If you guys have any thoughts, comment on any of our social medias, email us, do what you got, because I want to hear your thoughts too. I mean, I'm completely sold on this being a military thing right now.
Actually, you know what? In the photo dump on Facebook, because like I feel like Facebook is a good place for forum messages. On the photo dump, comment what you think.
Right, I want to hear your thoughts, because this is crazy to me.
And like, if I missed something, like, honestly, I could have easily done 2 or 3 parts on this story.
Right.
Like, I didn't even get into half of the story.
Jeez, that's
like,
wild, man.
this is a very, very, like, 101.
Maybe one day we'll do a part 2. Who knows?
And just, like, get into some of the deeper, it's crazy. But yeah, please comment, and yeah.
What a crazy episode.
If you're listening to this and you're Vladimir Putin, no, you're not.
Right? Get on our level, like...
No, you're not. We believe you.
Honestly... Okay, I'm about to say some wild shit, so we need to...
Be sure to like, subscribe, and rate on both of the podcast platforms that we're on Spotify. Please give us that 5-star rating if you enjoy listening to us. On Apple Podcasts, please give us a 5-star rating, leave us a review. That's going to give us more listeners. We love doing this. We want to build into something great. We want to build a community of people who love talking about spooky stuff. And so please be a part of helping us build that community. If you listen to this and you have friends, families, coworkers, fellow students, whatever that you know like spooky stuff, and they like it with a comedic twist.
Yeah, if they like comedy even, or just gay shit.
Yeah, just tell them, listen to Crypts and Corks, like, help us build this, like, this is like a family thing, like,
right,
we can talk into the microphones all we want, but, like, you can really help us. And also, like our stuff on social media.
Right. Go on this journey with us, because at the end of the day, like...
Yeah, this is episode 17. We're still pretty small.
And we're giving you guys a peek into our lives every episode, too. So you guys are, like, on a life's journey with us.
Sorry, I was drinking my White Russian. I don't want to make a joke, but the reason why I picked this story was... So, it was 9 Russians who froze to death, so they were white Russian.
Oh my gosh. I'm calling the cops.
And on that note, it's cold out there. Remember to keep your grips tight.
And your corks loose. Bye!